Okay, good morning. This time, or good afternoon, actually, it's afternoon. This is our last meeting of our defense class, review of the last meeting that we had for the defense class. And so, in this discussion, I want to go over what we've talked about so far in defense to kind of review everything that we've done. And then there are a few elements that are we need to take up that are kind of guidelines or tricks to remember in defense that will help you really improve your defensive play. So, going to look at the handout that you guys have. Kim, can you see that defense hard
Yes, and
surface? Okay.
I've got it printed out here.
Okay, good. So this is the kind of a summary of the book of what we've talked about in the book. We first started off with talking about opening leads. We talked first about opening leads against no trump and opening leads against suit contracts. For opening leads against no trump, we are thinking about length because in no trump, what can defeat a no trump contract is if you can set up a long suit or a couple of long suits that will keep them from being able to make their contract. Opening leads against suit contracts are a little bit different. Here, we're looking for high cards that we can win or develop before the opponents can. So, opening leads against no trump. Well, for both no trump and suit contracts, if partner has bid a suit, we need to lead that suit. No matter, no trump or suits, either one. If partner bid during the bidding portion, you need to lead that suit. And what you're going to lead is you're going to lead the top card from a doubleton, or you'll lead the top of touching honors if you have touching honors. Or if you have no sequence and it's not a doubleton, you have 3 or 4 cards in your partner's suit, then you are going to lead low if you have something in the suit, or high from your non-face cards if you have nothing in the suit. This is Boston, bottom of something, top of nothing. So if you have a face card in your hand, you'll lead low because that's the bottom of something. You have something, a face card in your hand, you'll lead the bottom of what you have low. That says, partner, I've got a face card in here. I don't have a sequence, it's not a doubleton, but I do have a face card in your suit. Or if you do not have a face card in the suit, lead the highest card that you can, then which will be a 7, 8, 9 probably, but the highest of the cards that you have, you will lead. Okay, so that is for if your partner has bid, and that those are true for both no trump and for suit contracts. If your partner bid the suit, you'll lead the top of a doubleton, the top of a sequence if you have it. If not, you will lead Boston, bottom of something, top of nothing. If partner has not bid, then if partner has bid, then we're going to no, this is true. We're going to lead your longest suit. Okay, lead your longest suit because that's what we're trying to do is set up a long suit. So lead the top of touching honors from a 3-card sequence, a broken sequence, or an interior sequence. The thing we need to remember with no trump is if we lead a face card in no trump, we are promising 3 honors in that suit, 3 honors. And you will lead the top of touching honors that you have. So if you have the ace, queen, jack, you'll lead the queen. If you have the ace, king, jack, you'll lead the ace. Or the king, queen, jack, you'll lead the king. Or the king, queen, 10, you'd still lead the king. They don't have to be in order, but there have to be 3 of them. And the one that you lead has to be the touching, the higher of touching honors. So when you lead a face card at no trump, you're promising 2 things. Number 1, you're promising that you have the card below that card. And number 2, you're promising that you've got 3 cards, 3 honor cards in the suit. So that shows a strong suit if you lead an honor card against no trump. The exception you may have is if you don't have touching honors, but you've got 3 honors, and that would be the ace, queen, 10. If you have the ace, queen, 10, you can't show that. You can't show that you have 3 because you don't have touching honors. So you just have to lead 4th down from that, as if you didn't have any honors in it. Your partner will just be very pleased to see that you do have 3, but that's the ace, queen, 10.
But if you lead,
Yes.
your partner will not know if you have 3 honors or if you're just leading the top of 2 touching honors.
No, in no trump, they will know that you have 3. You're leading the top of touching honors, and you have a 3rd honor, either higher with a skip or lower. So, like if you have king, queen, 10, you would lead the king because king and queen are touching, and you've got the 3rd with the 10. If you have king, queen, jack, you lead the king. If you have king, jack, 10, you lead the jack. The jack promises the lower one and a higher one. The higher one could be the ace or king, but it couldn't be the queen, because if you had the queen and the jack, you would lead the queen.
So honestly, you can't lead an honor in no trump unless you have 2 other honors,
That's correct.
touching or not. I mean,
touching or not, that's right. But 2 of them have to be touching for you to lead an honor. So if you lead an honor, you're promising 2 things: the card below it and a 3rd card somewhere. Honor. Maybe above, maybe below. If it's above, it can't be immediately above because you would have led that.
Right.
Yeah. If you don't have that, if you don't have 2 touching and you have 3, then you just lead 4th down. And that's usually what we lead. It's the 4th highest that we have. And we lead the 4th highest because of the rule of 11. The rule of 11 tells us that we take the number on the card that's led, subtract it from 11, and that tells how many higher cards are left out in the other 3 hands. And you can see 2 of the hands, yours and dummy. So that will tell you how many higher cards the declarer has in their hand, which frequently is useful information for you to have. That's why we lead the 4th down. Always, when we lead from length, we lead the 4th down. Rule of 11 isn't always useful, but still, if we follow this rule always, we just always lead the 4th down. It puts us in a position to use it when we can. Now, if you have 2 long suits, you'll lead the longer one. Even if the other one, the shorter one, is better, like more high cards in it, you'll still lead the longer one. If one of them is stronger than the other and they're equal length, then you will lead the stronger one. If you have 2 equal length ones and they're both kind of the same and you can't decide what to do, lead the unbid suit. So if there is an unbid suit, that would be preferable to lead. Okay, so those are opening leads against no trump. Usually it's either an honor, which shows a lot of honors in a really good suit because it shows 3 and you've got the top of touching, or more commonly, it's the 4th down. Unless we've led partner suit. We always lead, that's always our first choice, to lead partner suit if they've bid.
And if you cannot undercut an ace, so if you have the ace and 3 little ones, you have to lead the ace.
In no trump, you can underlead an ace. The reason we can't do it in a suit contract is because it usually winds up getting trumped or developing something for the opponent. So we don't underlead an ace against a suit. It's perfectly all right to underlead an ace against no trump because there all we care about is length. So there you can lead under an ace. Okay, suit contracts then. Opening leads against suit contracts. Here we're leading strength. So first first thing is we'll lead partner suit if we have it, following the same rules we already discussed, the top of a doubleton or top of touching honors or Boston, bottom of something, top of nothing. If what partner has not bid, then we have to decide something to bid. We can lead the top of touching honors, a sequence, and here it only has to be 2. So if you have touching honors, lead the top one. The nice thing about this is, since declarer cannot see each other's, since defense cannot see each other's hands, this at least give you information about one other card. So if your partner leads the queen, they've got the jack. They lead the king, they've got the queen. So that at least gives you one piece of information about their hand. You should also consider leading an unbid suit. If the opponents have bid the suit, they've got something in the suit. So there's no point in leading that suit for them. So generally you wouldn't lead, and you would lead an unbid suit. You wouldn't lead a suit that the opponents have bid. Unless they've been bidding 2 suits and you are short in one of the suits, and so you know that they're not, you might lead that suit hoping that your partner can trump, or that your partner can lead back to you and you can trump. Because if they were bidding hearts like in diamonds, and you're short in diamonds, they aren't going to be trumping in diamonds because they both have them. So you might try leading that. That would be a bid suit. But generally, we lead the unbid suit. We might choose to lead a short suit, and that's like a singleton, if partner is likely to be able to win and return your lead. If they can't do that, then leading a singleton is okay. You may be able to get to trump before they draw trump. But if your partner doesn't have anything winning in their hand, it's unlikely you're going to be able to make that good before they're able to draw your trump in. And that's particularly true in the case of a doubleton. That way your partner has to win twice and lead back to you, and that's just unlikely to happen unless you think your partner has some points. But frequently, if the opponents have bid to a game contract, and so they've got 26-ish points between them, and you've got close to an opening hand yourself, 10, 13 points, your partner doesn't have any points. So, leading a short suit in that situation is not likely to help you. At the most, it might give declarer a little bit of problem. But now you can lead a trump if you think declarer is likely to want to ruff some cards. If you and your partner have been bidding, a suit back and forth, and you have a lot of this suit, declarer may be short in it, then you might want to lead a trump to draw their trumps first before they can start trumping the ones that you have. Mm-hmm. Then you can lead a long suit, but only if you think you and your partner have more than 4 trump between you. Because otherwise you're not likely to be able to make a long suit good. So if you have no preferred suit to lead, your partner didn't bid, you don't have a suit that can be developed, there's no reason to think of anything else to lead, then we will lead using Boston, the top of nothing, the bottom of something. And so usually against a suit contract, rather than it being the bottom of something, because it's not likely you'll get to take that, we lead a suit that doesn't hurt anything, that doesn't encourage your partner to return it. And that's usually the top of nothing. Like a little 3-card suit with the 9, 8, 7, lead the top of that. Okay, deciding which card to lead, you'll lead the top card from a doubleton. You'll lead the top of touching honors. We know that. And here we're not promising 3. We're just promising 2. Might be 3, but just promises 2. And if you do not have a sequence and you've decided to lead a specific suit, then you lead the 4th down in that suit. Or if you want to lead the suit and you have an ace in it, you lead the ace. You never underlead an ace against a suit contract. Never underlead an ace. Lead the ace if you want to lead that suit. Otherwise, stay away, stay away from that suit and lead something else. Okay, so those were the opening leads we talked about. Then we talked about something that we knew before we came to defense class, which is third hand high and second hand low. But we talked about when you don't do that or when you do that. Mostly we follow those rules. But third hand, for instance, third hand generally plays high, but only as high as necessary to play. So times you wouldn't play totally high is if you have touching cards, like you were going to play high, you have the queen jack touching, you would play the lower, the jack. When we're leading, we play the higher to promise the lower. But when we are playing to a trick, not leading, but playing to a trick as third hand, then if we have touching ones, we play the lower, hoping that partner may be able to figure out we have the higher one next to it. You can't always figure that out, but still you follow that rule, and it sometimes can help your partner figure out that you must have the higher one. And also, you do not play so high if you're finessing against dummy. This third hand means that your partner has to have led, okay? Because you're the third hand. So partner leads, one of the defender, one of the either declare or dummy plays, then you play. So if you can see dummy, so you're the third one to play and you're behind dummy, and you can see that there are high cards in dummy's hand, well, you are going to play only as high as you need to play to keep those cards trapped in dummy. So if you can see the king jack in dummy and you have the ace queen in your hand, you would play the queen, not the ace, because you can see the king and the jack are over there. On the other hand, you may see that they have two high cards there and you want to keep them over there. You may have the ace, but you can see the king and jack are over there. You may not want to take your ace so that you keep the king trapped in dummy. As soon as you take your ace, their king is good in dummy. So we have the saying, aces are used to take kings. The ace is more valuable when it takes a trick and takes the king with it. So if you can do that, you'd like to. That's why sometimes we don't play high as third hand if we are trying to keep something from being able to be developed in the dummy and we can see the dummy.
But Sally, in that example that you just gave, you got the ace and queen, ace and queen being in the third hand, the fourth hand dummy having the king jack.
Yeah.
And if we play the queen, they're going to play their king.
No, because we're playing after. So partner is led, and we can see dummy with the king jack in it.
Oh,
And we can see
dummy's
the queen
two
behind it.
Okay.
It's when we can see it. So it's when we're playing third hand behind dummy, which means
Behind
partner
dummy.
is
Okay.
led.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Okay, good. All righty. The last thing about playing third hand is sometimes you have to overtake. I mean, ordinarily, if partner's winning the trick, third hand doesn't play high. You let your partner win. But sometimes you have to overtake your partner's trick to avoid getting trapped in your hand. And we're going to look at an example of that in just a few minutes. Okay, second hand low. Second hand generally plays low. And the reason second hand usually plays low is your partner is going to be the last one to play on that trick. So you want them to get the chance to take whatever they have. That is the highest card that they have can win the trick. So you play low. This lets you conserve your high tricks, makes the best, most efficient use of playing your hand. So generally you play low. And this is also sort of part of the idea of aces are meant to take kings. If you have an ace, you don't just play it. You play low. because you want to use your ace to take something at some point, and maybe your partner has the king. But anyway, you play low generally, helps you conserve your high cards. It makes declarer guess, which gives them a chance to make a mistake. For instance, if you have the king jack and you can see the ace queen on the board now, you are still going to play low because you have the king jack, they have the ace queen. Maybe they'll make a mistake. Maybe they'll play the ace. Maybe they have to get to the board and play the ace. They're not really finessing. So you don't go up with one of your honors, you play low and let them, they're finessing probably. So they'll play the queen, and the queen will win. But that's just the way it is. If you have the king jack in your hand and they have the ace queen behind you, you're in a terrible position. So don't go up with them, still play low. And sometimes you create entry problems for declare when you play low. They may want you to play high so that they can save what's on the board to play to get to that hand. Well, if you don't play high and they have to play that, then they've won that trick, but they've also taken that entry off the board. So that sometimes creates entry problems for them. So those are the reasons you usually play low. But when you don't play low, mostly you play low on second hand, unless you can win the trick and you need to win the trick to set them, then you take it. But otherwise, you don't play low. The only other time you don't play low is if you're splitting honors. And that means you have like the queen jack, the king queen, then you'll go ahead and play the lower of those honors to force out whatever they have and to elevate the second one that you have. So that's when you don't play second hand low, is to split your honors because you have two touching, or if you have the setting trick. Otherwise, second hand low generally plays low. Now, kind of a corollary that comes out for the second hand person is the idea of covering an honor with an honor, because that's one of our usual rules, that we cover an honor with an honor. And the reason we do that is because a couple of things. First, if we cover the honor with our honor, it means that they are going to have to use two of theirs to get our one. So if they lead the queen, we have the king, the ace is on the board, then we might as well play our king to make them play the ace, because your king is a loser. If it's in between the ace and the queen, it's going to lose. So you might as well make them play the queen and the ace at the same time. That's generally why we cover an honor with an honor. However, we do not cover an honor with an honor if you don't have anything to promote in your hand or no chance of promoting anything in your partner's hand. For instance, if they play the queen and you have the king and the ace is on the board, generally you would play the queen, the king, and make them play the ace. But if they have the ace, jack, 10, 9, etc. on the board, then there's no point in playing your king because they'll play the ace and the rest of those are good. So in that case, you might as well just hold on to your king, have them finesse. They'll have to play the ace. It just gives them more problems if you do that. If there's nothing to promote for you or your partner, then there's no point in covering it. Okay. Then we spent a long time talking about defensive signals. You should always be signaling when you're on defense, particularly the first time that a suit is led to. First time the suit is led in the hand, you should be signaling. If your partner is leading the suit, like on opening lead, you should be signaling the attitude you have toward that suit. I like the suit or I don't like the suit. If the opponents are leading, you should be signaling the count that you have in the suit. Either I have an odd number or an even number. And if you aren't doing either one of those things, generally you're giving the third kind of signal, which is a suit preference signal that we talked about. That's giving the partner a a choice of which card to lead to you next in order to get to your hand. So the most common ones are attitude. That's when your partner is leading. If your partner has led to the suit, then you are going to play a high card to encourage that suit or a low card to say, I don't have anything to help you in the suit. Don't lead it again.
Mm.
High cards encourage, low cards discourage. This is always on the first opening lead. Your partner is leading, opening lead, and you should always signal on the opening lead. And it should be high cards encourage, low cards discourage. Also on the first discard you have, whenever you have to discard a card, somebody else is leading and you can't follow suit. That's an excellent time to tell your partner, I like a suit or I don't like a suit. So if hearts are being led and you are going to have to throw away a card, the card that you throw away can give your partner information. If you throw away a low card in a suit, well, it says, partner, I'm not interested in this suit. But if you throw away a high card, like a 9, 8, or a 7 in a suit, it says, partner, I like this suit. I've got something in the suit. Lead it back when you get a chance. So high cards encourage, low cards discourage to show your attitude towards a suit. Now, show and count. When the opponents are leading a suit, that's a time when you can show count. And count is where you go high, low to show an even number, and you go up the line, low to high, to show an odd number in the suit. This is when the opponents are leading. And what it helps is, it helps your partner sometimes decide how many times they should hold up before they play an ace, is usually what it does. Count is not usually that useful. It's only when the opponents have led to the suit, but you should try to do it. You should get in the habit of signaling every time, both either attitude or count. Your partner may not pick up on it. It may not be useful to your partner, but just if you only signal at a time when you want your partner to pay attention, well, your partner is never going to pay attention. So you should always be signaling. You should always watch for your partner's signal and be trying to figure out what their signals mean and picturing the other hands based on what the signals say. The whole idea of defensive signals and watching what is played can allow you to become a really excellent bridge player if you start being able to picture the other hands. And you have to take all of this information into account in order to do that. It's also not an easy thing to learn to do. It requires a lot of practice. So you've got to spend time, doing this. And over time, you'll just become better and better at being able to picture what's in the other hands. If your partner is saying, I've got 3 cards in this suit, well, then you can see what you've got and what Dummy's got. Now you can picture declarer's hand. Start picturing it. Picture what cards they may have in their hands. So using both attitude and count signals, you should just be automatically doing always on the first time that suit is led. After that, there's not signals, but the first time a suit is led, you can signal either attitude or count. Suit preference is a little bit different. Suit preference is usually when you know that your partner is going to be trumping a trick. And he's going to trump the trick, and then he needs to lead something back to you to get to your hand. Well, you can give him a hint about what to lead back by what card that you lead back to him, what card that when he's going to trump the trick, what card you send to him. If you know he's going to trump and you send a high card to him that says, partner, lead the higher suit back to me. If you lead a low card for him to trump that says, partner, lead the lower suit back to me. These situations are hard to figure out, and they're hard to see when you're in that situation, and they're hard for your partner to read when you're in that situation. So if these don't make a lot of sense to you, don't worry about it too much.
So
They're valuable when you can do it. But Kim?
are you saying high card means major suit and low card means minor suit?
No, if your partner's going to trump a suit, there's the suit that he's trumping and trump. Those are the two suits. Then the other two suits are the other two suits. They may be spades and clubs, that's higher and higher, but it could be clubs and diamonds because, your partner could be trumping spades and hearts could be trump. In that case, the clubs and diamonds are the ones he would need to lead to come back to your hand, one or the other. And you would tell him by a high one lead diamonds and a lower one lead clubs.
I see.
All right, so those are defensive signals. That brings us then to the last two chapters that we had. And in the last two chapters, we're talking mainly about what we've learned up to that point, but there's also some kind of tips and tricks to things you can do on defense to both do two things. First, develop extra defense tricks. So ways to develop tricks for you and your partner to get on defense. And the second thing is interfering with declarer. Maybe not necessarily developing your own tricks, but making it hard for declarer to do what they need to do. So let's take those separately then. Developing your defense tricks, usually you will take your sure tricks. To do that, sometimes you need to either unblock in the suit or signal in the suit to give your partner the information they need. The first example about unblocking is on page 174. Page 174 in the textbook on defense gives us an example there of where at the bottom of the page where your partner has the king, queen, jack, 8, 7, 5. And so they lead the king because they lead top of touching honors. And you in your hand have the ace small. Well, your partner leads the king. So, you would let him win that, you would think, and you would play low and then play the ace later. But if you do not play the ace first to unblock the suit, if you play low and let him win the king and you don't play the ace, the next time when he plays the queen, you're going to have to play the ace. And now you're stuck in your hand. You've won with the ace, but you have nothing to lead back to him. So particularly when you have a doubleton and partner is leading the top of a sequence, you have to overtake his good card with your ace, but you have to do that so you can lead a small one back to him. Otherwise, when you take your ace, you'll get the ace. You get the ace in either case, but you get the ace if you do it the second time, you get the ace, but you lose the rest of partner's tricks. So you have to make sure that you're paying attention to when partner needs to be put back in the lead. Yeah, Kim?
But you don't know that your partner has, it could be, he could just have the king and the queen.
He could just have the king and the queen. That's right. That's true. But even in that case, there's no point in waiting.
I see.
There's no point in waiting. Go ahead and take the ace and then lead the small one back. If he has only the queen, he'll win only the queen, but he will win the queen. And if he's got more, he can add to it. So it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
When you've just got two. Now, if you have more, yeah, that's more of a question. But when you've just got two, you might as well take his king with your ace and lead back because you're never going to get more tricks than that. You're going to get two. If he has only the king and queen, you'll get two. If he has more than the king and queen, you'll get more than two. But if you take the ace first, if you don't take the ace first, you take it second, you'll get those two, but not the other ones that he has. So that's why you have to take the king first.
Actually, if this is a no trump, then we should know that he has another high card.
Yeah, exactly. We should assume that. But whether it's no trump or suit, either one, you've got to take the ace first when you've just got two of them. And he's led the king.
Okay.
You also need to be signaling. so that you can give the partner the chance to take the most tricks, or between the two of you to take the most tricks possible. Over on the next page, page 176, gives an example of this. He's got the king, queen, jack. You've got the ace, 8, 4. Since you've got 3 now, you don't have to play your ace right at the beginning. Now you would like to take your ace and lead back to him to take the rest, but you have to signal to him that you have the ace by playing the 8. In this situation, you signal to him. He's got the king, queen, jack, 10, a jack 3 in this example, and you've got the ace, 8, 4. He leads the king out of the ace, 8, 4. You play the 8. The 8 is a signal, partner, I like this suit. My attitude is good. I like the suit. So he should now lead a low card, expecting you to take it with the ace. And when he's got the king, queen, jack, he pretty much knows if you like the suit, you've got the ace. He also knows by the fact that declarer doesn't play the ace and you've signaled you like it, that he should now lead a low card to you so you can win the ace. Declarer does not have the ace, you do. So that's where signaling comes in to be important and can help you make use of that suit the most efficiently. In this case, the most efficient use is for him to play the king, then lead a small one to your ace, then you lead your third last card back to him, for him then to take the queen and the jack. That's the most efficient way to play that, and you have to signal him in order for that to happen. Okay, for promoting tricks, which is really kind of managing, you have to manage the entries so that you can get back to the hand that you're promoting the tricks in. So that requires you to do certain things. The first thing is you're still going to signal, and it's kind of the idea that you want to play the high card from the short side first. So looking at the example on page 178, you have the king, queen, your partner has the king, queen, 10 small, and you've got the jack, ace, 4. You can see the jack, 8, 4. You can see the ace on the board. So if you lead the king and dummy plays the ace, dummy wins the trick by putting the ace on top of your king, your partner's king, you still want to signal him that you have a good trick in that suit by playing the 8. You don't just throw away the 4 because you're not going to win the trick. Your partner's not winning the trick. But you still signal to say, partner, I like this suit. I've got more in this suit. So if he plays again from that suit, he's going to play low. And in that case, your jack will win. Okay, look on page 180. This is where we talk about the idea of unblocking again. If you're talking about a long suit, the shorthand has to be left with a low card to lead back to the long suit. So if we're talking about, particularly this would be no trump, where partner has led an honor, well, he's got a suit he wants to set up by leading that honor. You need to make sure that you have a low card so you could lead back to him. And in some cases, that means throwing away a perfectly good card. The top of page 180, it gives you an example of that. Your partner leads the queen. That shows that he has the jack and the 10. It could show he has the queen, jack, and the ace, but when dummies is down, you can see that he must have the queen, jack, 10 in his hand, right? You know that. Because if he led the queen, that means he's got 3. You've got the king, and you can see the ace. So partner leads the queen, dummy plays the ace. Now what do? You've got to throw the king under the ace. Wow. You've got to save a low card to lead back to your partner. In this case, your 2 is way more important than the king. So that would feel odd.
Mm-hmm.
Still throw the king under the ace. Another example next to it is your partner has the king, queen, 10, a couple more, the ace smaller on the board, and you have the jack. In no trump, if your partner has led the king, you know he has 3. He doesn't have the ace because he led the king. He does have the queen because he led the king. And he has a third one, which would either be the jack or the 10. You've got the jack. So that question's answered. So he plays the king. Dummy plays the ace. You throw your jack underneath the ace. So when you get in the lead, if you ever do, you can lead the 2 back to him and set up his suit. So you have to watch out for these situations so that you can make sure to play the suit the most efficiently for your partner. Okay, establishing long suits. In no trump particularly, if your partner has led low to a long suit, from a long suit, that means he's got a suit he wants to set up. He's on lead against no trump. He leads a small card. That means he is trying to set up a suit. He's got something in the suit he wants to set up. So when you win, if you do win in any trick, and you have your own long suit, and you're thinking, well, wait a minute. He wants to develop his suit, but I've got a good suit over here. So I think I'm going to win his, because, I've got a high card in his suit. I'll go ahead and win that and then lead my suit back to him so we can develop my suit also. Here's the problem with that thinking. If he has led that suit first, that's the first step of setting up a long suit, the opening lead, the first step in doing that. It's very infrequent that a suit can just be set up from start to finish so that you win every trick in that suit. Usually you have to lose something in a suit. If you've got every trick from start to finish, doesn't make any difference. But if you have to lose something in either your suit or his suit, you are stepping back. If you try to make yours good, now you've got 2 suits that you have to work at to set up, and you generally cannot set up 2 suits at the same time. And if we try then to set up yours, we are behind the 8 ball because we've already started setting up the other suit, and we don't have that much time as defense to get the tricks that we need before the opponents get their tricks. So generally, when a partner has led a suit and you want to establish, the reason he led the long suit is he wants to establish that suit, you return that suit back to him. I don't care what you've got in your hand. If you've got 5 diamonds with the ace, king, queen, jack, 10, yes, go ahead and cash those, then lead the suit back to him. But even then, I wouldn't do that because you may need to go back and forth between your hand. And if you cash all of those, you can't do that. If you just want to show him you have good cards in the suit, and so you want to play the ace because you would never just cash an ace, so you must have something behind it. You want to do that, fine, but still then lead that suit back to him. So you may cash 1 or 2 tricks in a suit to show you've got more in that suit, but you don't lead low to try to establish the suit for your suit. You lead low to establish his suit. And I hope that makes sense, but so many times with people that are new to playing bridge, they will think that, well, my partner once led that suit, but I've got this suit, I'm going to lead in instead. And that's nearly always a bad idea. Stick with the first one that's led because you've already taken the first step in setting that up. You're behind otherwise. And also, sometimes you need to duck to let declare win. That will establish your suit. And there's an example of that on page 183. Actually, the example to look at is on page 184. Your partner is, you have bid spades, playing no trump. You've bid spades during the auction. And so your partner leads the highest card they have in your suit. That's the rules about leading, the highest card in your partner's suit. And this is a doubleton, in a doubleton. So they lead the 10. So you know your partner has two, the 10 small. It would have led something else otherwise. So you have the ace, king, 9, 7, 3. He's only got two, means you just have 7 between you. You can see 3 in dummy. So that means that declarer also must have 3. Should make sense to everybody. You know your partner led the 10, so that's got to be the top of the doubleton. There's be no other reason for him to play the 10. It's got to be the top of the doubleton. And you have you can see 3 on the board. You know you have 7. There's 3 there. There's 3 in declarer's hand. That means that if you play the ace and the king, you are not going to be able to set up your tricks, because they've got 2 to the jack or 2 to the queen. Either way, on one side or the other, one of those tricks is going to be good if you just cash the ace and cash the king. You can't run the suit. So what you have to do is duck. Play the 9 in this case. Don't play the highest one. Play the 9. And declare is going to win with the queen. Yes. But then you will be able to get back to your hand because your partner still has another one they can lead to you. So they lead the 10. You then play low or play the 9. Doesn't make any difference. Just don't play the ace or the king. Let declarer win. Declarer is going to then take their tricks, but at some point, they're going to have to either lead, in this case, clubs. You're going to have to hope your partner has another trick, but lead clubs, in which case your partner does get to win with the king, and then will lead one back to you. Then you get to take the rest of your spades, and that defeats their contract by you being able to set that up. So you have to be kind of bold here and not take the ace or the king, counting on that you'll be able to win something in your hand, or your partner will be able to lead something and lead the spade back to you, because that's the only way you're going to get 4 tricks in the spade suit. You're going to have to lose one. Okay, finessing. Finessing, it talks about over on page 186. And here the idea is that you need to cooperate with partner when you see a finessing situation. So your partner has led, in this situation, has led the ace of a suit. And you don't have anything in the suit, so you're going to go play small. But you can see that if partner led the ace, partner has something good in their hand, right? The king, they should have the king, queen, jack. There is nothing in dummy. So when you get the chance, you should lead the hearts back to your partner as soon as you can to finesse the high cards that declarer has. You need to kind of consider, when you can see there's nothing in dummy, whatever exists must exist in declarer. So you want to lead back through declarer to let your partner play third to the hand to win the trick. So this is the idea of leading through strength and leading up to weakness. This is true in this situation where you're trying to finesse. It's true in all situations where you aren't too sure what to lead. If you, the hand that you can see is dummy, okay, as defense. That's the hand you can always see. If the dummy has good cards in it, then you want to lead through those good cards. So if dummy is north, let's say, and you are in the west hand, dummy has like the king jack, then you want to lead that suit, lead through the king jack So your partner can play behind the king jack. But if you see there are no cards in dummy, then as West, you do not want to lead that suit, because that means the good cards are in your partner's hand or declarer's hand who is playing behind your partner. So if there's nothing there, don't lead that suit. Lead something else. On the other hand, if you are sitting on the east side in this case, and you can see that there is nothing in dummy, where the things are is either in declarer's hand or partner's hand. So in that case, lead the suit. So it depends on which side you're on. And you just have to think about it is, if I can see good cards on the dummy, I want my partner to play after those good cards. If there are no good cards that you can see in dummy, you don't want to lead that suit, because that means your partner would have to play first and then declare. So you don't want to do that. If you're on the other side of the equation leading, and you can see good cards in dummy, don't lead that suit, because then the good stuff is in declaring your partner. And so you don't want your partner to have to play with leaving those good cards to be played afterwards. But if you can see nothing in dummy, then you want to lead those. So lead through strength, lead up to weakness is the last one to play. Okay. Roughing, this is where we come into the suit preference. And there's an example on this on page 192. On page 192, what you're hoping to do here is to give your partner a chance to rough a trick. And when you have the ace and king, you're hoping that you can play the ace and king and give your partner a chance to rough, because you're hoping that your partner is going to be short. You've got 4, you can see 3 in dummy. You don't know for sure what's going to happen, but it makes sense that if you play the ace and king and lead a low one, your partner might be able to win the trick, particularly if you lead the ace and he plays the 10, then you know he's going to be able to rough a trick. So what you're going to do is, he plays the ace, you play the ace, and when he plays the 10, high, low, then you know he just has 2, because why would he play the 10 otherwise? So then you play the king, and that throws away his last one. Now you can either play the 8 or the 3 to go to his hand. And that would give him an idea. If you play a higher card, the 8, it would tell him to lead the higher suit back to your hand. If you lead the 3, it would say lead the lower suit to get back to your hand. Well, what you want him to lead back to your hand so he can lead again for you to finesse would be to get to your hand with the ace of clubs. So that means you are going to give the 3 to him as the third trick in hearts. He will then win that. And then he has to decide, do I lead a queen, a diamond or a club? If you have led the small card to him to trump, that would say lead the club. If you had played the 8, that would have suggested leading the diamonds. Diamonds don't get you anything, the clubs do. That's where this suit preference signal comes in the most often. Okay, the last things then were interfering with declarer. And the main ideas here are, first, if you see, and this is when declarer is trying to do something and you're trying to keep them from doing something. So if they are trying to establish a suit, you can see they're trying to set up a long suit. Well, then you want to hold up. Don't just take your winners. If they need to lose the ace and the king and then their queen jack 10 that you can see on the board is going to be good, don't take your ace king. Hold up and wait. that helps break the communication between declare and dummy. It gives him a harder time being able to set up whatever he wants to set up. For him to set him up, you've got to take the ace and the king. So sometimes it's worth it for you to hold on to him. Don't just cash those tricks. Hopefully you'll get them later, but at least you're keeping him from getting tricks. So a lot of times you hold up and you don't play it when you can see that he's just trying to set up a long suit. Also, if you know he's going to set up a long suit and that's what he wants to do, then you think about, well, he's going to be able to set up this suit, but he's got to get back to it. So then you have to take the entries off the board. So if you see he's trying to set up hearts, he's got the king, queen, jack, 10, 9, blah, 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 and he's got the ace of clubs. And that's the only other way he has to get back to that hand. Go ahead and lead a club. So he'll have to take the ace. That way, hopefully, he won't be able to get back and set up those other tricks that he has. Your partner will have something else. Another one, and this is a very important one, is keeping them from being able to use length to set up a suit. Now, the only time or the main time that this can work is when you can see the dummy and you're playing behind the dummy. So you want to hold on to the same number of cards that dummy has. Because a lot of times, especially in a no trump contract, the opponents will be, as you know, using length to set up their long suit. Well, if they play the ace, king, queen, and the things were divided evenly, and they had 4 on the other side, they will be able to make the last one good. Well, if you started with 4, you don't just throw away a low one on another suit. You could say to yourself, well, I can see they're going to win the ace, king, queen, so I may as well throw away a low card in this suit when you have to discard on something else. But don't. Hold on to the number that you see in dummy, because that's the only place for sure they have them. So when you have to decide a suit to discard, you're just throwing away a card, you don't have a good card, pick a suit that is not the same length as the long suit on the board. That many times keeps them from making a small trick good that they could otherwise have made good. Throw away a little card from another suit that's not likely to be useful to you. Hold on to a card, all the cards in the suit, to make you keep even with the amount that dummy has. Okay, the last one, well, against finesses, these kind of make sense. You would duck, you would play second hand low, or you would cover, when they're playing an honor, you cover an honor with an honor. Those are just the normal things you would play. But looking at them setting up trump tricks, if you know that they obviously are going to be trumping something in dummy, you can see they're short. They've got 1 club. And so likely they're going to want to set up their suits to be able to trump a club in dummy. I mean, that's what you would do if you were playing the hand, right? So you're going to want to lead a trump. If you don't have anything else to lead, you don't know to set something up with your partner, set something up in your hand, lead a trump, because that makes it really hard for them to trump with all the extra trump and dummy. If you're taking away you're taking away their choice of when to do it. If they needed to delay drawing trump so they could use the trump on the board, the faster you take the trump off the board, that foils their plan. Okay, so that is our defense class that we've had that gives you all the information that you need to become a wonderful defensive player and make life really hard for declare. That, after all, is the point of the game. So, all right. Good seeing you, Kim. Good seeing the rest of you that'll be looking at this later. And good luck.